Welcome to the Intelligent Pharma Minute. This is the eighth edition, and I'm recording this live from Jacksonville, Florida. This show is sponsored by XLM Continuous TV. My goal is to convert mundane GXP processes into intelligent minutes. Okay, let's go. Everyone is busy arguing about which chatbot sounds better or smarter. It's a sideshow. The real game is this: AI is quietly moving into the lab, and the end game is not better tools for scientists. The end game is an AI that runs science itself. Scientific superintelligence is just not another buzzword. Lila Sciences coined and trademarked it, and they mean something specific. One system where the AI is the brain, and a fleet of autonomous lab robots is the body. One mind, one system. An AI that can generate a hypothesis, design an experiment, push it into a physical lab, interpret the data, and immediately decide what to do next without waiting for a human PI or a committee. The brutal truth behind their thesis is simple. The internet is tapped out for the kind of high quality, domain specific data you need to push scientific reasoning forward. So Lila takes the bitter lesson of AI: scale and compute beat clever hard engineering, and twists it. If you're out of data, you don't tweak the model. You build a machine that manufactures new data. Their claim is stark: a lab is an infinite token generator. Instead of scraping exhausted data sets, Lila's AI science factory slammed nature with a continuous stream of hypotheses. Each experiment produces an experimentally validated reasoning trace, a category of data that their CTO, Andy Bean, points out basically doesn't exist on the open internet today. It rounds to zero. This is an AlphaFold style train once, then predict. It's a closed loop of scientific self play with real world experimentation. The opponent is not a benchmark, the opponent is physics, chemistry, biology, reality itself. Look at how aggressively capital is betting that this loop is the future. Founded inside Flagship Pioneering in 2023, Lila raised 200 million in seed, then 350 million Series A by late 2025, 550 million total at a valuation north of 1.3 billion, with Nvidia's venture arm on the cap table. By mid 2026, they were reported to be in talks at valuations as high as 8.5 billion, a roughly 6x jump in under a year. That is not let's build a better limbs. That is Wall Street and sovereign wealth funds betting that whoever owns a self driving lab will own the next decade of science. The physical reality of these AI science factories looks nothing like a current wet lab. Think dark factories in Boston, San Francisco, London, magnetic tracks carrying plates around like Wall E, decades old experiments treated as nodes on a compute fabric and orchestrated like a data center with Slurm style job scheduling. Lila insists it's not a biopharma company. If it were, as Beam jokes, it would have a top three GPU cluster. Its core asset is not a drug pipeline, it's compute infrastructure and proprietary, experimentally validated data. And yes, they're already claiming early proof points, compressing non human primate CAR T in vivo data to 6 months in what they call a zero FTE virtual startup model. For perspective, wrote a deal worth up to 2.5 billion in 2025 to acquire Capstone Therapeutics on preclinical CAR T evidence that took years of conventional work to assemble. If a self-driving lab can turn the kind of data package in half a year, the economics of early-stage biotech don't bend, they snap. You can argue with the term superintelligence. You can absolutely question whether this closes the creativity gap in science or just builds an insanely fast optimization engine. But you can't ignore the direction of travel. Self driving labs at Carnegie Mellon, DeepMind's A Lab, co scientists, Recursion, In Silico, they all point the same way. Lila is simply the most aggressively capitalized, horizontally ambitious bet that the lab itself should be treated as a scaled compute cluster where reality is the benchmark. If you're leading pharma, biotech, or advanced manufacturing, and you're still thinking about AI as better dashboards, you're already behind. The competitive mode isn't who has the flashiest model demo, it's who owns the infrastructure that turns physical experiments into continuous proprietary training data. In other words, who owns the factory where scientific superintelligence actually becomes real. See you next week.